So, what kind of person does it take to commit mass genocide? Today we're dissecting the psychology of Eren Yeager. I want to be able to tell you why Eren is the way that he is by the end of the series. As always, there will be spoilers for the entirety of the series, and please subscribe to the channel for more characters in the future. Let's first start off with a quick summary. Eren Yeager was born on Paradise Island. At 10 years old, Titans attacked through his walls, subsequently causing the death of his mother. Eren joins the Box Cutter military and swears to kill all Titans. But he discovers that the Titans aren't really the problem, it's actually the rest of the world, trying to kill the people of Paradise. So, to understand Eren, I will be presenting some key psychological points that shaped him. So let's get right into it. Number 1. The effects of death. So the effects of death are obviously very severe, no matter which perspective you take. Now I have two subpoints for Eren's case. The first being death as witnessed by a child. In the series, we see young Eren witness his mother being eaten by a Titan. Eren was only 10 years old when he saw not only his mother die, but his entire town be torn apart by Titans. This causes Eren to become a refugee in the next inner wall. Now in comparison to our world, 21% of refugee children will suffer from traumatic grief, and 44% will have behavioral difficulties. There are more problems, but these two are highlighted well within Eren's personality. For example, his traumatic grief is portrayed when Eren sees Hannes die in the hands of the same Titan that ate his mom, and once again when his memory of eating his father comes back to him. For his behavioral difficulties, well, that's pretty much his whole personality, especially in the beginning of the show. Eren has a short fuse for most of the series and is more likely to be impulsive and lash out onto someone. So for the rest of the series, Eren continues to have these trauma episodes and behavioral issues, but we can safely say that this began with becoming an orphan refugee. The second subpoint is knowing his own death is inevitable. Later in the series, Eren learns that Titan shifters only have 13 years to live after they first transform. This marks Eren's death as certain and premature. Let's compare this to the real world and use people with terminal illnesses as a basis for understanding. A terminal illness is one that is considered to have no cure and therefore will, without a doubt, result in death earlier than expected. Real-life people suffering from a terminal illness can go through several states of mind depending on their age, sex, relationships, and types of illnesses. For Eren, we will focus on young people with little experience and close friends. Real people in this category suffer through a lot of depression due to their early death, and as cliche as it might be, a way to cope is by adding life to years and not years to life. This is to say, trying to increase the quality of the time left in a way that is meaningful to them. People often make a bucket list of the things that they wish to do before their passing. Sometimes people want to just experience another part of the world, as Eren did. Some wish to make amends, as Eren did with Reiner, and some want to leave some form of security behind for their loved ones, the same way that Eren did. Titan shifting is essentially Eren's terminal illness, and knowing exactly how much time he has left causes Eren to cross off a bucket list. He has things he wants to do. Eren knows more about the world, and he has a goal to achieve. So, what we are left with is a child who suffers from trauma, behavioral problems, and a terminal illness. Second point, military duty to kill. So this second point is not so much to highlight that Titans are scary or dangerous, but instead to bring light to the fact that this is a form of murder, especially considering that Titans were once humans. What I mean is, Titans are like enemy soldiers. Killing Titans is what Eren had to do for much of the first part, and he does it often. In fact, he is the character with the highest count for kills in the show. This is comparable to the mentality of soldiers in an active war. So, what happens when you take a human being and make them kill for a living? Well, many things, unsurprisingly. What is more fascinating is that all animals will avoid killing its kind during altercations. Instead, they'll do what is referred to as posturing. This is like a warning to the other animal in hopes that death will be avoided. For human beings, and specifically soldiers, it was found that 80% of soldiers will initially shoot at the air or above the heads of the targets as a form of posturing. This only applies to humans who have not killed more than a few times or people who are high in conscientiousness. However, this will change in the face of war where killing and death is very prominent. Let me give you a quote from Steve Robinson, the executive director from the National Gulf War Resource Center. Quote, "We desensitize soldiers to the idea of killing by starting them off with drills and paper targets that don't look like anything, and then ultimately transition to moving targets, pop-up targets, and things that are shaped like humans, so that your response is automatic. You don't think." End quote. Sound familiar? This is the same as Eren's training to kill Titans. While not intentional, Eren is desensitized to killing Titans from an early point, even with the manner that soldiers talk about Titans, calling them monsters. While yes, it is easy to believe that giant man-eating humanoids are monsters, this can be applied to people of enemy armies who are just as willing to kill you and your home. This is why in the military it is common to see racial or religious slurs used when speaking about the enemy. They want to dehumanize and detach the enemy from them as much as possible. It creates an us versus them mentality. This is further explored with the Marleyans and their views of the Eldian race, calling them devils. But sticking with Eren, we see that even though he finds out his former teammates are traitors, he does not hesitate in his attempt to kill them, which is a contrast with Annie, because initially he did not want to fight her. This is a progression of desensitization in Eren's psyche. While controversial to some, this is the reality of being a soldier, taking so many lives and viewing an enemy as something other than human. This makes you desensitized to killing. So let's move on to my final point. Abuse of power. Let me start this off with a question. If you had the power to do anything, what would you do? Surprising to some, but in reality, usually the idea of possessing power causes some negative outcomes. The most famous example of this is the Stanford prison experiment. The experiment has its fair share of criticisms, but it went as follows. The experiment was run by Zimbardo, and it was a prison simulation, essentially. Zimbardo had 12 normal men play as inmates and 12 men play the guards. The guards were instructed to not harm the inmates or withhold food. I'll spare you the details, but by the end of the experiment, the guards heavily abused their power to the point of torturing the inmates. And again, these were all supposed to be roles. So no real power was there, but the guards used the power that they had thought to possess to abuse the inmates. This abuse was so bad that the 2-week experiment was cut short at 6 days. This is all to demonstrate the fact that when given power, or the illusion of power, people can do some terrible things. So let's picture Eren. He has the Attack Titan power. Then later on, the Founding Titan power. Then the Warhammer power. And lastly, all the Titan powers. Eren has the power to control all Titans, summon any he wishes. So with all this power, what should he do? Well, he could do whatever he wants, right? And with great power comes great responsibility. The danger is, what is the responsibility in the power holder's eyes? So once again, what kind of person commits mass genocide? In this case, the kind that has trauma and behavioral issues due to his past, the kind that has a terminal illness and therefore limited time, the kind that is desensitized to killing others, the kind that has the power to do whatever he wants, and what he wants is to protect his island and his people. All of this makes sense for Eren to have made the decision that he did. He is already impulsive and no stranger to murder. He has no time to wait for a calm resolution when the faster, safer resolution is within his power. Whether or not you believe he is justified in his actions, I hope that this video made it easy to see why his character would make such a decision and why I commend Isayama for thinking so hard about Eren's mental state. Now, just for the fun of it, if Eren was a real person and claimed to have these powers, I would diagnose him with schizotypal personality disorder. Symptoms of this include the following: eccentric views, difficulties having relationships, believing in the ability to read minds, believing in the ability to see into the future, having inappropriate reactions, ignoring others, and talking to oneself. All symptoms displayed by Eren by the end of the series. And I know it's all due to his powers, but in the real world, this would be clear signs of a disorder. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and comment down below who you want me to do next. And don't forget to subscribe for more.